clashes between Muslims and Christians in Cairo. The clashes are reported to have begun when Muslims surrounded a Coptic church to free a woman allegedly held against her will because she'd converted to Islam.
Heading into action, fire engines make their way to the scene of the clashes. This burning church was just one of several buildings attacked during fighting between Christians and Muslims. Among the crowds of onlookers, residents appealed for calm.
I just want to say that we're all one family. We're all one nation, hand in hand. There are no rifts, people are poor, and we don't have the time for division and arguments.
Fighting apparently started after Muslims surrounded a church to free a woman inside who they said was being held against her will because she converted to Islam. Some witnesses here told a different story.
This is the result of a lack of security. People linked to the previous regime want to create sectarian strife.
Rights groups say sectarian clashes are on the rise. Another challenge among the many already facing Egypt's military rulers as they try to restore order after the overthrow of President Mubarak. Daniel Griffiths, BBC News.
Our correspondent Jonathan Head joins me now from Cairo. And Jonathan, both sides are giving conflicting reports about how these clashes started. What light can you shed on them?
Well, it's pretty clear that they were started when a group of Salafi Muslims, now they're very hardline fundamentalist Muslims, and they're a very small minority in Egypt, but they're very active in protests. And this grievance, this allegation that Christians are holding people who want to convert to Islam is one we've heard many times before, and one that has prompted both protests, and there was quite a big protest in Cairo just 2 days ago in the centre in Tahrir Square, and previous violent clashes. So it's a cause that's been taken up very much by these Salafi groups who were not able to go out and do this kind of thing and protest openly and surround churches in the Mubarak era. They've got the freedom to operate now they didn't have before. So it's very much their cause. They surrounded the church, demanded that this woman be released, who they allege has already converted to Islam or wants to convert to Islam. They allege that she's the wife of a Coptic Christian priest. Again, they've been talking about this for months. This even precedes the fall of President Mubarak. And then the crowd started throwing stones and petrol bombs. They set the church alight. It got very ugly indeed. And one of the worrying signs, and we saw this in clashes 2 months ago, a number of shots were fired. In the crowds, people were armed. And those who died, we believe, were killed by gunshots. It did take the security forces. This is something we've also seen before. Quite a long time to bring this violence under control.
Why is that?
Well, it's difficult to say, and in fact journalists were chased away from this clash as they have in previous ones. It is surprising, when you think how well armed the military is. I think they are very nervous about these clashes. Large numbers of people do get involved in them. Christians allege that the security forces are deliberately slow. There are lots of rumours flying around. As you saw in that report, people believe that perhaps forces allied to the old regime, to Mr. Mubarak, are deliberately stirring things up. But the reality is this is creating a great deal more fear and mistrust on both sides. And we have an election in around 4 months' time in which hardline Muslim parties will contest and are very strong. This is creating an immense amount of fear in the Christian community, and they only number 10%, and they've often complained of discrimination in the past.
Yes, absolutely, because Christians have already complained of discrimination in the past. This is very worrying for the transition, because if hardline Muslims do well, the prospects look quite bleak for them.
Well, I think if it's the Muslim Brotherhood, this is difficult to say. The Muslim Brotherhood is painting itself as a very mainstream party, Islamic, but much more moderate than it has been in the past, and has insisted publicly that they believe in equal status for both faiths and in religious tolerance. But there are many groups within Egypt who don't practice that. And what you have is a situation where, with the fall of an authoritarian government, all the different groups in Egypt are pushing for their own rights, and that includes the Christians. They're pushing very hard for equal status that they don't have at the moment for their own faith. That's making hardline Muslims react because they fear Islam will lose its privileged position. And the military is not very confident in managing these clashes. Each time a clash happens, it poisons the relations between the two communities.
Jonathan, thanks for that update. That was Jonathan Head in Cairo. In the Libyan rebel-held city of Misrata, firefighters have been trying to tackle a blaze at a major fuel depot in the